Yeah.
Like, I didn't even realize there was another damn CSI show on. They just got a new one. And I'm like,
nice. How many are there now?
I don't know.
Jesus.
But they're trying to catch up with the young people. This one's called CSI Cyber.
Oh.
Ken is the only other guy in the Reno Sparks area who considers making these YouTube videos fun, at least for now. And today I thought I'd talk about our technology and archaeology, and I was inspired to do this because of something that happened to me recently at a regional conference. I've already told Chris this story, so he's heard it before, but basically I was sitting there one night and a bunch of people come in, you know, young people, undergrads, grads, people in CRM and whatnot. And I don't know how they got started talking about it, but then they're just like, one person's like, I have a smartphone, but I've never ever sent a text. And everyone starts cheering and piling on how much they hate technology. So it occurs to me that there are a lot of people who are still afraid of technology at all ages and all experience levels in archaeology. And it might be handy to have a little chat about some of their frequently asked questions or frequent misstatements. Oh, and I even have a costume change today, just to reassure people that I'm indeed an old-timey archaeologist, like them.
Nice.
Because all you need is a fedora.
Nice.
And I even wore my leather jacket. Although I was going to put it on, but then it's a little too cold today. But not as cold as you thought.
I wore my field coat, but it's the opposite of old-timey. It's advanced Under Armour camo. So, and you know, let me start this off too with my own little story about this that just happened in the last couple days. A friend of ours, Bill White, who's on the CRM Archaeology podcast with me, he put up a post on the Archeo Field Techs group on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it. Yeah, he put up a post that said, "What's better for field recording, Kindle Fire or an iPad?" Now, I think he was really baiting a conversation there because him and I have talked a lot about this, and I think he knows deep down that a Kindle Fire is a piece of crap for field recording, but we'll get into that maybe later. But
it's mostly because of their proprietary crap they put over the top of Android.
Yeah, they ruin the Android operating system.
Yeah.
They don't ruin it, they make it great for the Kindle Fire.
Yeah.
But they don't make it good for doing anything else.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Now, and it's not saying Android is bad for field recording, and we can get into that too. It's just the Kindle Fire in particular, or any proprietary device, they get the vanilla flavor of Android, and then they make their customizations, which take away the usefulness for field recording. But besides that, what I want to talk about are the comments. As far as I know, there's over like 40 comments on this thing, and
I saw it this morning.
most of the comments, you get a lot of them that are good. I've commented a few times, and some other people about some useful stuff regarding the differences between the two and what you can do.
Yeah.
But then again, like every third or fourth comment is pen and paper.
Yeah.
Pen and paper. And then that comment has like 8 likes.
Yeah.
So this is an uphill battle. Absolutely.
I was thinking about this last night. Like, how many of these same people, they carry their smartphones with them and they don't think anything of taking a photo of a site and then tagging themselves and writing out stuff and posting it to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all this
geolocated photo?
Yeah. And it's like, dude, you're already using technology every day. You just don't use it for work. And yet, for some reason, magically, when you use it at work as a work tablet, it's no longer durable enough, even though you carry your iPhone with you everywhere. Yeah. Well,
and we can. This podcast isn't the right, or this video isn't the right place for it. But talking about doing that, you're right. A lot of people don't think about how they're using technology, and we can. This podcast isn't the right, or this video isn't the right place for it. But talking about doing that, you're right. A lot of people don't think about how they're using technology. Well, and these people that were down on the people that actually had tried tablets, they tried like old Toshibas and a Yuma.
What the hell is a Yuma?
I have no idea. And these other tablets, and they're like, okay, you're going to get what you pay for. And other people that had tried the tablets and didn't mind their tablets, and then they were complaining about their interface, which means their forms, they were using Word documents, which is a huge bad idea. They were using fillable PDFs, which is another bad idea. And they were just they were trying to cram paper recording into a digital interface, and you really need to think outside the box, literally outside the box, the box of paper, and rethink the way that you site record if you're going to do it properly. You can't cram a piece of paper into a tablet. It doesn't fit.
I mean, it's like when people had to come up with the program to like replace a calculator for, you know, with spreadsheets. You had to completely rethink it from the bottom up.
Right.
And now it's much more useful, and you couldn't get an accountant to go back to, like, you know, their little calculator and paper and pen.
No, and that's where, you know, that's a good analogy too, because accounting software and spreadsheets developed from the huge books that accountants would have with all their tables and all that stuff. And then once they started putting that into a computer, you ended up with the computer version of that, and real quick that modified into having formulas and all these different things, and all that turned into what is thinking outside the box for a spreadsheet? A relational database.
Yeah.
Okay, so spreadsheets on top of spreadsheets, if you want to think about it simply, and all connected to each other. That's thinking outside the box. You can't do that with paper.
Well, I guess we should start the question portion, or the portion where I pretend to be a crusty an old-timey archaeologist and challenge you. So I will just throw things at you. I'll throw all the questions I've thought of at you, and if I think of anything, I'll try to interrupt you and throw you off your flow.
Sounds good.
All right, so the first thing, and I hear this all the time, and I know we brought it up before, but you know, if I want to write down a form, I'll just have a form. But if I want a camera, I'll have a camera. And if I want video, I have a video. And if I want GPS, I'll have a GPS. Why one device?
Well, simplification, really. Some people would argue that if you have one device, then if one device fails, all your devices fail.
That's always the argument.
Which is also true. Yeah. But we've been essentially dealing with that problem throughout and just not realized it. We have cameras in the field that fail. We have Trimble GPSs in the field that fail.
People forget to fill out their forms.
People forget to charge their devices.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, all these things are problems we're already used to dealing with. It's just we're getting to the point we're going to put them in one device. And if you take proper procedures and understand that you have to protect your devices, but even then, there's a possibility for failure. There's always a possibility for hardware failure, which is actually quite rare with the high-end devices, the Apples and the Samsungs. Yeah. It's rare for them to fail, but it's not impossible for them to fail. So you do have to plan for that, because you don't want to lose your entire days or weeks worth of data.
So basically, it's improbable, not impossible.
Well, and again, we've already been doing this. What do we do at the end of every day with our GPSs?
Charge them.
We charge them and we upload them.
Yeah.
Well, we download the GPS, we upload that information to a computer. So that's a backup. Often we'll keep the data on the GPS so we have it the next day, and you can do that with the tablets, but whatever method you're using, even if you're just filling out Word forms or word processing documents, get them off your device as soon as you possibly can. Ideally, you'll do it at the end of recording every single site. Yeah. But in areas where you don't have proper cell service, or if you're using an Apple device, you can't exactly plug a hard drive into that. Now, I do have, actually it's in my bag, I do have a Wi-Fi USB stick that I don't even have to plug into this. I just turn on. Yeah, and in fact, Richie's the one that showed me this, and I went immediately out and bought one. And
oh god, it's a SanDisk something.
SanDisk Wi-Fi Connect.
Yeah.
Is what it's called. Yeah, that's all it's called. So you get that, or something like that. There's other things like that that'll do that, and it generates its own Wi-Fi signal. You can connect 8 devices at a time up to it. So all the people in the field that you have, out here in Nevada, you're going to have 4 people on your crew. One's going to have a Trimble, 3 will have a tablet, for me anyway. And then those 3 can sit there, spend literally 2 minutes, probably less, I'm just being generous here, 2 minutes, export their data files from the application that I use, and then upload that to the SanDisk Wi-Fi Connect. Now your data's in 2 places, okay? It's on the tablet still, because it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's on the Wi-Fi Connect, which is a solid-state device that is going to be almost impossible to destroy, and it's likely not going to fail. But if it does, so
this leads me into my next question.
Yeah.
Like the first official question, and you hear this all the time, including that Facebook string. Mm-hmm. Tablets are fragile.
Right. So tablets are as fragile as you make them. Honestly, they're not any more fragile than paper that can get wet, muddy, burned, ripped, lost in a dust devil. Anybody who's worked on an excavation in Nevada knows that if you leave your clipboard out and open, 'cause most of us have those closing clipboards for a reason. I have a binder clip that goes over mine because the dust devils that come through, and I've seen it before, they will open your clipboard and take all your papers and launch them 500 feet up into the air, and then they're gone.
That's why everyone has those like big clips they put on their thing too.
That's what I have. Yeah. So, and I've seen yours too. You've got clips all over yours.
Yeah.
Even though his is an open keyboard or a clipboard, mine's the metal closing kind. But either way, it's the same concept. You've got binder clips around the edge that keep everything down. So, and that's smart. Well, not only that, but the paper gets all frayed up from being in a windy environment. So we all know that paper gets ruined. So by saying tablets are fragile, you can't not also say that paper is fragile. Now tablets, we'll try to make this succinct because I could go on all day about this. The first rule of tablets is you get what you pay for, just like any technology.
Exactly.
You're not going to find a bargain tablet that's going to last you a long time. You're just going to be frustrated by it, and you're just going to destroy it. It's either going to have a crappy screen. If it doesn't have a glass screen, then you probably bought a cheap tablet. Okay. Note, as far as I've seen, and there's so many Android tablets on the market, it's hard to qualify this statement, but as far as I've seen, there are no crappy quality glass screen tablets, because typically the glass screen comes with a higher end tablet. So it's a kind of a good rule of thumb, but not, I mean, it's not take it as a gospel. But
and the nice thing is they're so competitive that it keeps the price down.
Well, yeah, exactly. Apple's low priced, smallest full size iPad is always $500. It's never changed in price.
Yeah, this was $500 when I first bought it.
Yeah, this one was $500. Well, this one is actually $600 because it's the next one up. It's a 64 gigabyte, but
yeah, this one was 64.
Yeah, well, there you go. So you get what you pay for with the tablets. That, like I said, they're going to have solid state components inside of them, unless it's a really crappy tablet. So that's good, so that you can jiggle them around. You can bang them around. You can do whatever you want to them. That's a client's tablet. I probably shouldn't do that. But anyway, and then on top of that, you look at your case and your screen protector.
Yeah.
Okay. Depending on the environment you're working in, this is an OtterBox case. It's shockproof, dustproof, water resistant. I say resistant because it's not completely sealed up. If you submerge this in water, you'll destroy your tablet. But if you're not working in a very wet environment, and most of the time in archaeology, I mean, out here in the desert, we go in if we see lightning on the horizon. So we're not probably going to work in a rainy environment. But in the southeast, or like up in British Columbia, the Pacific Northwest, you're going to be working in wet environments. You're going to be working in humid environments. So you'll want a life-proof case. Yeah. Or something similar. Something where you can still manipulate the surface. They've got those dry sacks and things like that. As long as you can still operate the device, then you're fine.
Basically, any place where you use those crazy clipboards with the clear screen.
Right. Well, and that's another thing with the screen. You know, the plastic devices, the screen gets crazed real easy and scratched up.
Yeah, I can do that right now.
Screen protector on his phone like that. That's why these OtterBox cases, they come with their own screen protector. I always remove it and put on a Zag Invisible Shield screen protector. You'll pay more for it, but it's lifetime guaranteed. So if it gets ruined, you can just remove it and send it in. They'll send you a new one. So that's it. Buy a decent tablet, and you won't regret it because you won't be replacing it anytime soon. Put a good case on it and put a good screen protector on it, and that's pretty much it. And then if you really want some extra protection, you can go to like Square Trade or something like that. You'll pay $50-$60 for a 2-year warranty on your tablet. So if you do run it over with a truck or drop it down a mine shaft, they'll give you a new one. Yeah,
and I know we talked about this, but I mean, think about all the field techs who carry their own personal phones in the field. Like, you know, like their new iPhone 6 Plus or whatever, and they're not worried about that. Right. But suddenly, the tablets are super fragile. Yeah. It's the same technology.
and people worry about, I mean, field techs are hell on equipment. Everybody knows that. But I have taken my tablet in its various OtterBox cases over the years, and I have thrown it on the ground. I've slipped down a hill and fallen on it while my backpack was on. I've laid on it. Everybody lays on their pack at lunch. I've done that. I've sat on it in the back of a truck one time. I treat it like my clipboard, which I treat like hell. Yeah. So I just don't care. It's if you do care, then you don't have the right device and you don't have the right case on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like this. I've dropped this in a swamp, or you know, all sorts of places. I even had to go back and look for it in a swamp.
The simple fact is there isn't a single use case that you can't prepare for.
No.
Morley, what is it? Morley something archaeology. There's a company up in British Columbia. They did a whole symposium in the Hawaii or SAAs down in Waikiki, and I actually went and talked to those guys extensively. And they their pictures are, people are literally in rain gear, and it's like raining the entire time they're doing a muddy excavation, and they're recording with iPads.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, that's the quintessential shitty use case right there.
Yeah. Man, alrighty. Here's another one we always hear. I can't even believe I'm going to say this one, but I am. Tablets cost so much more than paper.
Right. Well, that's an easy one to refute because the initial cost of a tablet is truly higher than paper, but the extended cost of paper far outweigh tablets.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, primarily, disregarding just data loss. If you lose your paper, you're done. But we're talking about, so we'll talk simply first here, transcription of numbers and letters and reading somebody's handwriting.
Ugh.
All the paper stuff has to be typed in, every single one of it. There's no software on the planet right now that's good enough for you to not look over every single word. Sure, you might be able to scan it, might be able to do some recognition and then translate your writing into typing, but you still have to read every single bit of it, so what's the point? Until we can have a computer that can adequately read that, but nobody can read field tech handwriting, especially after the,
Not even the field techs who write it sometimes.
No. You try to call them up 7 months later and say, hey, remember this shovel test? Or remember this thing you did? No, I don't remember that. I've done 6 projects since then.
Yeah, it's like, remember the 600 shovel test you dug that day?
Right. Yeah, you remember unit 1042, level 6? No, I don't. Shut up. Hang up the phone. Anyway, so you've got that. You've got transcription errors from the people typing up in the office, trying to read other people's handwriting, and then you've got the cost of digitization. So, whatever your billable rate is for your company, for a field tech or an office secretary or something like that, whoever's doing the typing up, just not doing archaeology, just doing simple typing up and copying into a Word document or an Excel table or something like that. I mean, typically that rate's going to be $45 to $60 an hour for on the average side. And when you factor that in, you far outweigh the cost of paper for the cost of your tablets. And then the final cost of paper is curation. In most cases, unless it's on private land or some weird things going on, but in a lot of cases, all your notes and paperwork and everything have to be curated long-term with the project.
Yeah.
So if you didn't collect any paper, then you don't have 10 boxes of paper to curate with the project.
Oh God, and you don't have to look through someone's super ass messy office like every project manager's office I've ever been in.
Yeah,
that's like a bomb exploded.
That's a different story entirely. You're just a jackass. If you're working a typical 8 to 10 hour day, for one thing, your tablet's not on that whole time. You've got drive time, you've got lunch, you've got break. You've got all that stuff, you've got walking, you've got all these things. So your tablet's probably only going to be on maybe 5 or 6 hours tops.
That's tops.
I mean, that's a high end. Yeah. That's a lot of recording.
Because typical recording is like, what, 2-3 hours?
Maybe.
A day, depending on how many sites?
Exactly. So you've got all that going on. But if you do leave with less than a full charge for some reason, or for one reason or another, I mean, things do fail. And let's say you've got a tablet with a crappy battery. Maybe it's an older tablet and your battery's just starting to die. There's plenty of options. I've got 4 of them sitting right here. This is a 20,000 milliamp solar rechargeable, although I don't recommend it. The panel's pretty small. Solar rechargeable battery. This is a 20,000 milliamp battery. And what that means, the iPad Air has an 8,600 milliamp battery. So a 20,000 milliamp battery, you can think of that as like gas in your gas tank.
Yeah.
Okay, so a 20,000 milliamp battery is going to put, what, about 2 1/3 charges on an iPad? Full charges on an iPad?
Yeah.
So one of these would be fine for one field crew. Plus you can plug 2 devices into it at once. I've got another smaller one here. This will put a small charge on your tablet or cell phone. It's a really good small device for field packs, and it's got a fairly decent solar charger on it. This is a 6,000 milliamp battery, just plugs into the wall. You could actually plug this into the wall and plug your devices in at night, and then it'll charge this and charge your devices at the same time. Then you can take it in the field, it'll charge your devices. Now 6,000 milliamps will only put 3/4 of a charge on an iPad, but that's enough to get you through the end of the day. I got 2 of these for $30 at Costco over Christmas, and this is a 2,000 milliamp charger. Now this will charge your phone up probably 1/4 of the way, half away. It'll charge a tablet up maybe a little bit. It's enough to just get you going. It's enough to keep you through the end of the day.
And then they have the ones that are that have battery. You can just put a regular battery inside.
Yeah, you can put like some AA's inside of it and use the power of the AA's to plug in through USB and charge whatever you want.
Alrighty, let's see. Next question. Oh God, before I move on to the next question, I just thought up of this in that that Facebook string. Someone's pointing out it's so hard to see in the direct sunlight.
Right. So again, it's all about adapting your behavior. There are screen protectors that tend to try to reduce glare, but I find that they just reduce your screen visibility as well. But as with anything, anyone who's tried to read a Trimble in direct sunlight knows that it's impossible. Anybody who's tried to read the screen on their digital camera in direct sunlight knows that it's impossible. It's a function of LCD screens.
Yeah.
Okay. or LED screens.
And yet no one complains about it there.
No. And why would you complain about it here? I noticed that a few times when I first started using a tablet in the field almost 5 years ago. Actually, 5 years ago this month. I was in grad school when the iPad first came out, and we were doing some field stuff, and I immediately started using it in 100-degree plus high humidity in Georgia. So I ran into some serious problems right off the bat. The first problem being glare. But I quickly realized that all I had to do, there were very few circumstances where I couldn't just slightly reorient my body to where I was shading it with my own head, my own bulbous head. If you got a tiny little pea head, you might have a problem.
And how many people wear the big hats?
Well, exactly. And the one other thing while we're talking about it, these glass screens have one, I don't want to say defect, I'll say side effect. They're highly subject, like any glass is. I mean, go on the inside of your car on a hot day and you'll understand what I mean.
Yeah.
It could be 90 degrees outside, but it can be 150 inside your car because of the UV, the way the UV reacts with the light coming in through your window. It's the same thing on a glass screen tablet. So it can be 85, 90 degrees, it can be 70 degrees. If you leave your tablet face up in direct sunlight in the glass, it will overheat.
Yeah.
And on the iPad, all it does is give you a temperature warning. You just have to throw it in your backpack or under a sagebrush or back in the car, and after 5 minutes, it's usable again.
Yeah.
To avoid that, have your Zag screen protector on there. I don't even put the cover back on. I'll throw my tablet screen down in the sand underneath a bush, when I'm not using it, when I want to set it down for some reason. And that's perfectly fine. All you have to do is not put the screen in direct sunlight for an extended period of time. And we might get into this, but all this is worth it. You might say, why do I have to modify my behavior if I'm already doing these other things? But it's the back end. It's the minor inconveniences, I'll call them, just for lack of a better term, in the field, far outweighed by the benefits in the office.
And I think it's like more obvious with certain things. Like when digital photography came along, it was so much easier not to have to go to a photography lab and drop all that stuff off. Even though you could have made all these same old person points with digital cameras.
Right.
I mean, how many digital cameras I've seen, with run out of battery in the field, but no one's like, oh, we should just go out and buy more film cameras again.
Right. Oh, I'm sure some people resisted the film camera, switch to digital.
Yeah.
And in fact, some agencies still require black and white film negatives. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for certain things. For certain architectural forms, I think in California, you still are required to have black and white negatives.
Wow.
Exactly.
Alrighty. Let's see. Wow. Oh, good Lord, I should have written fewer questions. Oh, wait, I think we just answered that one. Here's one we hear all the time from everyone. Everyone who uses a tablet. I don't need an archaeology app. I can just use Word or a word processor program.
Right. So we talked about this in the beginning a little bit. You can't take paper and cram it into a tablet.
No.
I applaud the people that are using tablets, even if they are Word documents or PDFs, because they're taking that first crucial step. But it's like going from walking to a horse and buggy rather than walking to a car.
Yeah.
A motorized car or something like that. It's a good first step. It gets you there quicker and it saves you some time, but you can't do anything with your data at the end of it. You still end up with the same result as paper. You're saving time in the office, but you're not having any of those research potentials.
Yeah.
If you don't collect in some form of a database, whether it's a FileMaker Pro program, TapForms, which is what I use, or the Center for Digital Archaeology has a Codify, which I'm adapting to CRM Siteforms, more on that later. And
I mean, databases is what makes it powerful.
exactly, they're instantly searchable. To have something instantly searchable in the field will probably save you a lot of time. And I know out here in the West, we're typically, hours away from the office. So if we find something in the office and we're like, well, that's an interesting thing, I wish I'd have known this in the field, you can't just go back in the field. I mean, it'll cost hundreds of dollars just to go back into the field to check one thing out and go back. Whereas if you were in the field, you could have said, let me analyze these results real quick and see what I've got. Okay, let's check this out before we go. And what you got to realize is the end result of all this is, even if it takes you longer in the field, maybe in the initial stages of it, or forever, if it takes you longer in the field to record because of the technology you're using, if you're doing it right in the office, you're saving all that time and then some. I mean, my calculations based on the long site forms we have to fill out here in the Great Basin and California is that you're saving close to 80 to 90% plus of your time in the office, and that far outweighs the time in the field. Now I understand time in the field means more per diem, if it's extra days or whatever, but still you're saving in some cases tens of thousands of dollars in the office on digitizing site forms. So, and not only that, but it's fairly typical, just because of resources, that none of the data for a project will be tackled until the project is over and the project manager gets back in the office. But in this case, you can either hire somebody or keep your project manager in the office for some of the time, maybe after the first few weeks of field work, and then upload your data daily, and your report can practically be finished by the time, unless you've got a lot of excavation, you did an excavation, you've got a lot of analysis or whatever you're waiting on. If it's a typical field survey project, especially here in the West where we don't collect anything, there's no reason your draft report can't be finished within 3 or 4 days of the end of the field work if you've got somebody in the office working on it at that time.
And if all this data is in a database and it's got metadata attached, theoretically it could be like photography, where the Adobe's got like the auto button, like auto report right button, I guess, at some point.
And then there are ways to meld your database with your Word document and say, okay, as things enter here, enter it in the appropriate sections, and then the only thing you're crafting from new are sections of your boilerplate background that have changed since you wrote it last, and some of your interpretation and analysis, although some of that's not even allowed. Usually it's just a reporting of what you found. So your NRHP recommendations need to be written. So, but a lot of that stuff, like I worked for a number of companies where the site section of the report of what you found is basically just copied and paste the first paragraph from the site form into the report. And that's it. Because the first paragraph is kind of like a summary of what you found. So that's all that goes in the report, and then you attach as an appendix all your site forms. So there's no reason you can't take, because that first paragraph is generated automatically by the software that I use. So there's no reason I can't take those data and generate it also in the report. There's no reason whatsoever. So it's,
and God, think how much sooner you can come up with a letter report.
Yeah, well, the letter report, I mean, forget about it. It's practically done. So, and that's nothing. The letter report's easy. The draft report is usually what takes 2 or 3 months for a long-term project or more. And like I said, there's no reason that can't be finished practically by the time you get done with field work.
And how many reports, I mean, God, how many companies have these reports that are still outstanding that they haven't ever finished?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's because like they're drowning in paperwork, or the paperwork's incomplete, or people get fired and leave.
Part of the problem is they went over budget on their project to begin with, and or too close to the budget to finish the report. And the client often gets the notice to proceed based on your letter report. So they don't even need the draft report or final report. They just need the letter report that says, here's what we found, here's what you need to avoid, here you go. And then the agency will make their determination based on that. If there's some sites that are in question as far as eligibility, they might say avoid these areas until we get further details. But for the most part, here you go. Here's your notice to proceed. And by the time you turn in the final report, there's a Walmart up and people are shopping there.
And they don't care.
And they don't care. Yeah.
Only other archaeologists care at these regional conferences. Here's one we hear all the time. It's like the main argument against tablets. What will field techs / office people do over the winter if they can't digitize forms?
What did cobblers and buggy repairmen do when the automobile came along? They got other jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's not the best answer. I don't want to put anybody out of work, and that's actually the worst response you could have. If you have a staff of people and you say, "Oh, we just bought a bunch of tablets. I'm laying half of you off." That's not the way to respond to that question. I see, at least in the early stages of this, while the companies that decide to go digital have market advantage, don't completely underbid your competition because you're saving money. Okay, underbid them a little bit because now you can, because you're saving so much money, but use some of that extra money, if your client allows, to write some papers, to put together some conference presentations, or in best case scenario, bid on more projects. If your field people, as archaeologists, especially field technicians, at the field tech level, I mean, let's face it, you're not necessarily the person inside writing the report.
No.
You're not doing the analysis. You're not doing any of that. That's typically for either lab people or project managers and stuff like that. That's their job. If you want to do that, then move up into that position. But as a field tech, you're a field tech. So you should be in the field. So your company should be able to, if they're saving so much time and so much money, they should be able to bid on more projects and keep you in the field longer.
And more importantly, you can like bid in places where maybe there's winter work.
Right, exactly. Now, if you work somewhere where you completely shut down for the winter, then you're right. You may have some tough decisions to make, but that's where things are going. And honestly, as a traveling field tech, if I was someplace, I worked in Colorado one time and we came up to wintertime, well, guess what? I worked somewhere else after that.
Yeah.
I didn't work in Colorado. I worked somewhere that had other work.
It's called Florida.
Yeah, exactly.
El Centro.
Oh my God, yeah. So, and I've worked in those places. So, well, not El Centro yet, but I'll have that on my belt soon. But
get familiar with ticks and all that stuff.
Oh my God, I'll never go to the Southeast again. All of my Facebook friends from the Southeast are like, "Oh, great, ticks are back." No, not in Nevada, they're not.
I need to come up with this closing phrase one of these days, but alrighty, guys. So hopefully that was moderately helpful-ish. You can find me on Twitter at, FTBV and UPTTS. And if you're a real archaeologist, you'll know exactly what that means, especially if you're in the Great Basin. I have a Facebook group. I moderate a Reddit CRM archaeology subreddit. Oh God, and let's see, this has been Chris Webster, and where can they find you?
You can find me at ArchaeoWebby on Twitter, ArcheoWebby, and my company website and blog is www.digtech-llc.com. And there's also the Archaeology Podcast Network, which has 7 different archaeology podcasts on it right now, with 2 or 3 more coming online in the next month.
Oh, really?
Yep. And
anything you can talk about?
Not yet. Not yet. We're still in development. But www.archaeologypodcastnetwork.com. You can find it on Stitcher Radio and iTunes as well.
And I want to say SoundCloud, but it's only a few, right?
That's only a few. And if Richie happens to get this video up before this weekend, which is debatable, the weekend before the SAAs, if you go to the Archaeology Podcast Network and donate a minimum of $20.15 for 2015, then you'll be entered into a drawing for have your SAA conference fees paid or reimbursed.
Oh, and of course you're hosting a panel.
Yeah, I'm hosting a panel on blogging archaeology on Saturday for the SAAs. I'm giving a paper on virtual offices on Thursday, and I'm teaching part of a workshop on digital field site recording for the Center for Digital Archaeology on Tuesday at their offices in Larkspur.
Oh, and they have a website.
Oh yeah,
I see them post on Reddit all the time.
Yeah, just look up CODA, C-O-D-A, on Google. You'll find them.
Oh God, I guess that's about it, I think. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
There you go.
Oh, you can close out too if you want.
Dig it. No, I don't know.
Oh, is that what she does for her videos?
Who?
Oh,
is it Jamie?
Yeah.
Jamie Stein. I don't know if she does that or not. There's her dig it.
So I have been working on this video for about the past 2 months. It's a long story, but a 7-year-old laptop is not quite as fast as a new desktop computer, or my new desktop computer, I guess, being more honest to say. And so I just want to take a few moments at the end of this video to thank you for A, making it the whole way through this video. Yes, I actually do read. I do check out YouTube analytics. So thank you to anyone who's actually made it to this point. And thank you for being with me for the first year of this channel. It's been, God, has it been a year already? I guess it has. So thank you for being with me through this video. I know it's been a work in progress every video. Look forward to more content. Look forward to fancier content, and look forward to content that's probably more field editing friendly. I guess that's the way you put it. So thanks again.